let me ask you something. What if the most evil, most hated villain in a story was secretly its greatest hero? Well, that's the story we're diving into today. The incredibly complex, tragic truth behind Itachi Uchiha. It's an unbelievable story about sacrifice, love, and the crushing weight of having to make an impossible choice. This one line, this is everything. This is the key that unlocks the entire mystery of Itachi. And he didn't say this in some peaceful, happy moment. He said it during a time of terrible conflict. This was the one truth he held onto through a life that was built on a mountain of lies. His unconditional love for his little brother, Sasuke. Because to literally everyone else, Itachi Uchiha was a monster, a cold-blooded killer, a traitor who, in one single, horrifying night, wiped out his entire clan. That chilling reputation was the mask he wore for years. And to really understand the man behind it, we have to go back to that very night. So yeah, this is the event that defines Itachi from most of the story, the Uchiha clan massacre. It's the horrific crime that paints him as the ultimate villain, and of course sets his little brother on a lifelong path of pure revenge. Now, to really feel the weight of what he did, you have to understand who he was. Itachi wasn't just smart, he was a true once-in-a-generation prodigy. I mean, look at this timeline. He graduated from the academy at age 7, at 10 he's a Chunin, and by 13 he was a captain in the Anbu Black Ops. The guy's intelligence was completely off the charts. He was on the fast track to becoming a legend in the village. And then, at that same age, 13, he was given an unthinkable mission. The leaders of his own village ordered him to kill every single person in his clan, his mother, his father, his friends. And he did it. He carried out the mission, with one single, heartbreaking exception. He just couldn't bring himself to kill his little brother. So, the big question is, why? Why would anyone, especially a 13-year-old kid, commit such a horrific act? Well, the answer wasn't that he was evil. The real reason was so much worse. It was politics, desperation, and a choice between two world-ending disasters. See, here's what was happening behind the scenes. The Uchiha clan felt like they were being pushed out, completely disrespected by the village they helped create. So after years of this building tension, they decided they were going to take power by force. They started secretly planning a coup that would have torn the entire village apart in a civil war. And Itachi, because of his high-ranking position, was stuck right in the middle, acting as a double agent. The village leadership basically came to him with this nightmare scenario, this ultimatum. And look at these options. There's no good choice here. Option 1, he could side with Uchiha. The coup would happen, it would fail, and the whole clan would be wiped out as traitors, including Sasuke. Or option 2, he could side with the village. He would have to stop the coup before it ever started by killing his clan himself. But, and this is the key, it was the only way to save his brother's life. And just look at what was at stake here. This wasn't just some internal squabble. A coup would have triggered a massive civil war. We're talking thousands of people dead. The Leaf Village would have been crippled, just a sitting duck for other rival nations to invade. This could have easily spiraled into a fourth great ninja war. Faced with all that, a 13-year-old kid decided to carry all of that sin on his own shoulders. So, after that horrible night, Itachi became a rogue ninja, a wanted criminal on the run. But here's the twist. That was also part of the mission. He chose to live the life of a villain to keep protecting the village he'd already given up everything for. And where does a top-tier rogue ninja go? He joined the most dangerous criminal organization on the planet, the Akatsuki. These guys were a collection of the most powerful and feared rogue shinobi out there. To the rest of the world, they were basically supervillains, a huge terrorist threat. And Itachi joining them? Well, that pretty much sealed his reputation as a traitor. But of course, it was all a deep, deep cover. His real mission was to infiltrate the Akatsuki and secretly feed intelligence back to the Leaf Village. So, from the inside of the world's most dangerous organization, he was still acting as the village's silent protector. But through all the spying, all the sacrifices he made for his village, there was always one thing that motivated him above everything else: protecting Sasuke. Seriously, every single thing he did after that night was all about shaping his little brother's future. I mean, can you imagine hearing these words from your own brother? He said this to Sasuke on the night of the massacre. It was cruel, it was awful, but he did it on purpose.
He needed Sasuke to hate him with every fiber of his being because he believed that burning hatred was the only thing that would make Sasuke strong enough to survive. He literally made himself the villain of his brother's life to give him a purpose.
But even after all those years of building this wall of hatred, the truth would sometimes slip through. This little forehead poke, that was their special thing, a gesture of affection from their childhood. It was a tiny sign that the real Itachi, the loving big brother, was still in there, just buried under this monstrous identity he had created.
And this part is just mind-blowing. Itachi's long-term plan included his own death. He planned for Sasuke to be the one to eventually kill him. Why? Because in his mind, if Sasuke avenged the Uchiha clan by killing its murderer, Sasuke would be welcomed back to the village as a hero. He'd restore the family's honor. It's such a twisted but unbelievably selfless endgame.
All right, so as we get to the end of Itachi's life, the final layers of his sacrifice are peeled back, and you start to realize that the burden he was carrying was even heavier than you could have ever imagined. Because what nobody knew, on top of everything else, was that Itachi was already dying. He had a terminal illness. He was coughing up blood, he was exhausted, his vision was failing, and he was taking all kinds of medicine just to keep himself going, not to save his own life, but just to stay alive long enough for Sasuke to become strong enough to kill him. He was timing his own death. So in their final epic battle, Itachi wasn't even really fighting to win. He was fighting to protect Sasuke one last time. And then he just collapses with a smile on his face. His very last words weren't hateful at all. They were an apology and an act of love. You can just feel his burden finally being lifted. And he did get one final moment of peace. He was briefly brought back to life during the Fourth Great Ninja War, and he was able to tell Sasuke everything, face to face, no more lies. He even admitted that his methods were wrong, that trying to manipulate his brother's whole life was a mistake. But he made sure Sasuke knew that everything he did, no matter how messed up, came from a place of absolute love. In the end, Itachi's own words kind of perfectly sum up his journey. He finally acknowledged his own failures. He understood that by trying to do everything alone, by lying to the one person he loved most in the world, he'd made terrible mistakes. It's a realization that he came to right at the very end. So that leaves us with the big question, right? What was Itachi Uchiha? Was he a hero who saved his village? A villain who murdered his family? Or was he really just a victim of a broken system that put a burden on a child that no one should ever have to carry? It's a story that proves just how blurry the line between hero and monster can really be.